Bambi is shy and not giving out autographs right now. What famous person did you regret meeting because they were an ass? I've met lots of celebrities due to my job, and where I've worked, most are just normal people. One that does stand out to me though is Barbara Streisand. She was staying in a hotel I used to work at and wanted a set of small steps leading up to her bed to be made so her dog could get up there. She also wanted a fresh roll of turf brought every day for her dog to piss/shut on. On the flip side though, Britney Spears is a nutter sweetheart who comes across like she just wants peace and to be left alone. She used to like having flowers delivered to her room so she could make displays, etc. They were pretty good. She's cloned that dog twice at $50,000 a time. No wonder she treats it like glass. It's worth more than most people's cars. No, I'm not kidding. I have nothing but sympathy for Britney Spears. She seems to have endured some shut in her life. That's sweet, she just enjoys arranging flowers and no fuss for me, thanks. I wouldn't say disappointing as I never was eager to meet him, but Drake was just unprofessional and egotistical when I worked with him both times. This was before he got big first award show type level. He's told me to duck off directly and I watched his mom calm him down from a tantrum. This is the most in character story I've read this entire thread. Jimmy really got big-headed after leaving Degrassi. Jared Leto. I worshipped him as a teenager, mainly from seeing him in Requiem for a Dream and My So-Called Life and his band. But he was the most pretentious and arrogant person in real life. Never meet your heroes. I've heard that so often. The way he talks on a lot of news shows never really sat right with me. Then he became a cult leader and I noped out. My professor's daughter was his personal assistant for some time, and according to her, he was completely insufferable. I met James Brown back in the 80s when I lived in Vale. The man was dissatisfied with everything and generally drunk. Absolute flip side was meeting Mr. Rogers when I was at Pitt. That man was the real deal. I have seen people who worked with Mr. Rogers describing him as almost exactly the same as on his show. And that is beautiful. You know the story of Mr. Rogers getting his car stolen. Word got around, and the thieves found out. Next day, the car was returned with a note of apology. Nobody ducks with Mr. Rogers. Tom Hanks told a story about while he was filming the Mr. Rogers movie, in which he starred. He was in Pittsburgh, and some rough local who knew he was playing Rogers cornered him in an elevator and said, "You know, we take Mr. Rogers very seriously here. Yeah, that neighborhood is a bit on the shady side." He expected my seat on a plane. He was our local news anchor. Actually said, "I may look familiar." I said, "You're a merchant banker?" The people with the smallest claim to fame are often the most egotistical about it. My dad works at a luxury car dealership. The guy playing adult Simba in the touring cast of Lion King had an issue with his car that couldn't be fixed immediately. When told this, he screamed at my dad, "Do you know who I am?" "No dude, unless someone saw the show the night before and recognized your name, no one knows who you are." His mistake was going to the Jaguar dealership instead of the Lion dealership. I used to work in a posh hotel in Canada, vague on purpose, and I had met many famous people during my time there. Most were forgettable interactions honestly, but one stands out as the absolute worst. Chevy Chase. He is a trash human being. He was totally miserable and insulting to all the staff, and we treated him with nothing but professional respect and courtesy. If I ever meet him again, I'll tell him to his face what a colossal piece of shit he is. I can't watch his movies since. For the record, the best celebrity guest for me was Dave Grohl. He's an awesome guy. Everyone always has something nice to say about Dave Grohl. Nobody ever has had nice to say about Chevy Chase. I once met Bill Burr at the Comedy Store in Hollywood. This was a little bit after his first Netflix special came out, and I was a huge fan. Saw all the YouTube vids out at the time, including his famous Philly rant. Needless to say, I was starstruck when I saw him and couldn't really muster the courage to speak. He was talking to some people in the hallway and I didn't know how to ask for a picture without being rude, so I stood there with my girlfriend kinda looking his direction. Once he acknowledged us, my girlfriend asked him, "My boyfriend is a huge fan. May we take a photo?" At which point Bill said, "Duck, no, I don't do pictures." My heart sank. Then he smiled and said, "No, I'm just kidding. Come here. Where would I be without you guys?" Then he motioned us in for a group photo and said now let's put our arms around each other like we know each other. He totally made my week. Dude is awesome. I met a local weatherman from my neck of the woods twice. People love this dude on social media, but the both times I've seen him, he was a total a-hole. On the flip side, I met Emilio Estevez at work. He was cool. A famous soap opera star in my country. He came into the Dairy Queen I was working at. I didn't know who he was, and my coworker started hyperventilating and went to the back. The guy was rude, and when I handed him his cone he said, "Is that all?" Like he expected extra, because he was famous. Yeah dude, if you order one scoop you get one scoop. Didn't find out he was famous until he left, and my coworker came back to the front. This is a Dairy Queen sir, not a drama queen. Beyonce's dad jerked a wait staff. Snoop and his dad were awesome, though. That, bar none, was and forever will be my favorite bartending gig. That doesn't surprise me about Beyonce's dad. Her fans know he's a duck, from treating her mom like shit to pretending he's the reason she's famous. Reggie Jackson. He was a childhood idol of mine. I got the opportunity to get a photo with him at some booth at a trade show called Internet World years ago during the .com boom. No one was in line to get pictures with him, so I walked up to get a photo while he was apparently trying to get the girls in the next booth over to sleep with him. He acted all but that I asked for a photo, even though that is what he was hired for, and rolled his eyes. I guess he thought I cock blocked him by just showing up in line to get a picture. I tossed the picture in the trash once I got it. Later that day I got a bull signed by Steve Garvey who was super nice. He replaced Reggie Jackson as my hero that night. I was the ass. I saw Don Cheadle at an airport and was thinking about Ocean's 11 and said to my friend, "Dude, it's Bernie Mac," and he looked back and said, "No, I'm the other black guy from Ocean's 11, but at least you liked the movie." Probably only for British people, but my boyfriend saw Peter Kay with his bodyguard in a chippy. Didn't say anything but elbowed his brother. Peter Kay saw him and said, "Yeah, it is me, now duck off." Pretty harsh considering my boyfriend was only 11 at the time. Me and my sister saw Alec Baldwin, Tina Fey, and Salma Hayek on the street when we were eating lunch. They were just coming out of a car, about to go into some building next to us. We had no idea why they were together, but in retrospect it was definitely because they were filming 30 Rock together. My sister said, "Oh my god, is that Tina Fey?" And Alec Baldwin turned around and went right in her face and said, "Don't ducking say that. Don't speak to us. Why would you say something like that? You can't speak to us. Not now." But it didn't really end there. He yelled again at us outside his building, saying, "Don't look over here. Turn around and eat your food. Duck off." He sounded genuinely furious at us, almost like he wanted us to yell back and start something with him. Honestly, my sister was on the verge of tears. It was horribly embarrassing. Everybody knows now that Alec Baldwin has a history of screaming at people, but at the time we had no idea. Don't get me wrong, my sister shouldn't have yelled at Tina Fey like that, but the way Alec snapped was straight up scary, like he was about to physically hurt her. Salma Hayek and some other lady who I didn't recognize came over and apologized to us. She asked if we wanted her to go and get Tina and get her autograph, because apparently Tina felt bad too, but we said no. She then talked to us about the food we were eating, which was Mexican food, and we ended up having a brief conversation about New York's lack of quality Mexican food. She was incredibly charismatic and sweet. Met Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood when they were filming near Austin. I was waiting tables. Costner was a jerk. Eastwood was amazing. And a caricature of himself. He's huge. Huge hands. The lines in his face are deeper than you think they are. But he was so polite and gentlemanly and gracious. Prince Andrew spent a lot of time around him about 10 years ago as working at private social events he attended. The guy is a total prick. Maybe he would have been nicer to you if you were younger. I met Will Ferrell at a movie premiere for a holiday movie. After the movie premiere there was a meet and greet, and the actors were lingering on the main floor. I introduced myself, just to tell him what's up, and that I enjoyed the movie. He looked at me with a side glance, and stated, "Get away from me." I was 12 years old at the time. I've heard that his entire personality is his characters. Like there's literal co-stars who say his shtick never gets turned off. I met Shane Dawson at a restaurant I used to work at. He used to come in a few times a year with his fiancée and in-laws. He's a duck lol. None of my servers liked him or wanted to serve his family, and I damn near had to fight some little girls off the property because they would not leave without seeing him.